Ladies and gentlemen, life has a way of teaching us lessons that we often don't want to learn. We all have experienced moments where someone we loved walked away, and in the aftermath, there's a longing, a hope that they will return this time with the understanding, the change, the appreciation that we deserve. They'll apologize, promise to be different, and we'll be left wondering, should I take them back? But here's the hard truth. They will regret losing you. But you must not make the mistake of taking them back. This is the moment where you have to ask yourself, what do I really want for my life? Why would I settle for someone who didn't cherish me when they had the chance? If you're feeling tempted to return to someone who left, let me share with you why the real regret is not theirs but yours. If you allow yourself to fall back into a toxic cycle. In this speech, we're going to explore the power of self-worth and the courage it takes to let go of someone who didn't value you. Stick with me, because by the end you'll understand why your future holds something far greater than simply being taken back. You may have experienced moments in your life where you felt overlooked, underappreciated, or even abandoned by someone you deeply cared for. In those moments it can be hard to see clearly. Emotions flood in, making it difficult to understand your worth, or even the importance of standing up for yourself. However, one of the most empowering truths you can realize is that you are worthy of love, respect, and attention regardless of whether someone else sees it, and when someone shows you they cannot see or appreciate your worth. It's time to step back and honor yourself. Setting boundaries and understanding your self-worth isn't a selfish act. It's an essential part of your emotional well-being and personal growth. The idea of self-worth is often misinterpreted. Many people think self-worth is tied to external factors like the validation of others, achievements, or appearance. While these things can certainly contribute to how we feel about ourselves, true self-worth comes from within. It's about recognizing that you are valuable simply because you exist, not because of anything you do or what anyone else thinks of you. This is why it's crucial to establish strong personal boundaries in relationships. Boundaries aren't walls to keep others out. They're lines that you draw to protect your own sense of self and to prevent others from taking advantage of your emotional energy. When you allow others to treat you poorly, to disrespect your needs, or to take advantage of your kindness, you send a message that you don't believe you deserve more. Boundaries are your way of saying, I respect myself enough to walk away from anything that diminishes my happiness, my peace, or my sense of self. And when someone violates those boundaries, whether by lying, betraying your trust, or simply neglecting to care about your needs, it's a sign that they do not recognize your value. The unfortunate reality is that sometimes people don't understand how valuable someone is until they lose them. But that does not mean you should be the one to give them a second chance to learn this lesson. When you set a boundary and someone chooses to walk away, it can be an incredibly painful experience. You may feel the sharp sting of rejection, and there may be moments when you question yourself, wondering if you made the right choice, if perhaps there was something you could have done differently. This is natural. But here's the most important thing you must remember. You are not defined by their actions or their inability to appreciate you. You are defined by how you respond to those actions and whether you allow them to dictate your sense of self-worth. Often we make the mistake of tying our value to the approval or affection of others. We think that if someone leaves or doesn't treat us well, it means we're not good enough. This couldn't be further from the truth. The fact that someone cannot see your worth does not diminish it. It simply means they are not the right person for you. And sometimes we have to experience this truth in painful ways for it to sink in. But once you understand it, it becomes freeing. You stop waiting for someone to recognize your value, because you already do. The journey of self-worth also involves learning to recognize when something or someone is no longer serving you. You don't need to keep pouring your energy into relationships or situations that are draining you. There is no value in remaining tied to people who continuously take without giving, or who leave you feeling less than. Your time, your energy, and your emotional investment are precious. When you begin to value yourself, you start recognizing that you don't have to settle for crumbs from anyone. Not even from someone you once thought you couldn't live without. By establishing boundaries and protecting your emotional health, You not only cultivate your own self-respect, but also send a message to the world about how you expect to be treated. People will take notice when you stop tolerating disrespect, when you stop chasing after validation from people who are incapable of giving it to you. You begin to attract the kind of energy that matches your worth, people who recognize and appreciate your value. And this is the key. When you begin to value yourself first, you make space for others to value you in the same way. When we experience loss, whether it's the end of a relationship, the departure of a close friend, or the end of an important chapter in our lives, we often feel as though we've been broken, shattered by the pain of what's been lost. It's easy to fall into the trap of believing that we will never be whole again, that the emotional void will never be filled. But this belief couldn't be further from the truth. Emotional growth after loss is not only possible, it is inevitable if you allow yourself the space to heal. The human heart is remarkably resilient, and with time you'll begin to see how even the deepest wounds can turn into sources of strength and wisdom. At first, healing can seem like an impossible task. The pain feels all-consuming, and every step forward may seem like 2 steps backward. But what many people fail to realize is that emotional growth is not a linear process. It's messy, unpredictable, and often full of setbacks. There are no shortcuts to healing. But with each passing day, each moment of choosing yourself, you begin to rebuild. Healing is about learning to sit with your pain, accepting it, and using it to grow, rather than allowing it to keep you trapped in a cycle of bitterness or regret. During this process, one of the most crucial things to recognize is that healing does not mean forgetting. It doesn't mean pretending that the hurt never existed, or that the pain didn't matter. Healing is not about erasing the past, it's about understanding it and finding a way to move forward without being chained to it. The scars of past pain often remain with us, but they become part of our story, not our identity. We don't need to erase the hurt to prove that we've moved on. We simply need to learn how to live with it in a way that no longer defines us or holds us back. In the journey of emotional growth, forgiveness plays a central role, but it's important to understand that forgiveness is not for the other person, it's for you. When we hold on to grudges or resentment, we are essentially allowing someone else to have power over our emotions, even after they've left our lives. Forgiveness doesn't mean condoning someone's behavior or pretending that everything is okay. It means releasing the grip that the past has on you. It's a conscious decision to let go of the weight of anger and resentment so that you can free yourself to move forward. One of the greatest lessons in emotional growth is the realization that we cannot change other people. As much as we may wish for someone to change or for the dynamics of a relationship to shift, we cannot control someone else's actions or emotions. The only person we can change is ourselves. And while this may sound like an uncomfortable truth, it is also an empowering one. When you stop waiting for someone to change, you start to realize how much power you have in your own life. You begin to recognize that you have the ability to create the life you desire, independent of the people or circumstances that once defined your happiness. Another essential element of emotional growth is learning to trust yourself again. When someone betrays you, lies to you, or walks away from your life, it can leave you questioning your judgment, your ability to make good decisions, and even your self-worth. But part of healing is learning to trust that you are capable of making better decisions moving forward. You have the strength within you to protect yourself, to make choices that align with your values, and to build your life in a way that honors your worth. Trusting yourself means knowing that even if you make mistakes along the way, you have the resilience to learn from them and move forward with more wisdom than before. As you grow emotionally, you begin to recognize that loss is not the end, it's often the beginning of a new chapter. Every experience, even painful ones, holds valuable lessons that can shape you into a stronger, wiser, and more compassionate person. When you look back at the pain you've endured, you may no longer see it as something that broke you. Instead, you will see it as something that pushed you toward the person you were always meant to be. Emotional growth is a process of transformation, and while it may feel overwhelming at times, it is also one of the most powerful tools you have for creating the life you truly desire. There is a profound and often overlooked truth in life. The power of letting go is not just a matter of choice, but of liberation. Letting go is not about giving up or conceding defeat. Rather, it is a courageous step towards reclaiming your peace, your strength, and your future. We live in a world where we are constantly taught to hold on to our possessions, our relationships, and even our pain. We are conditioned to believe that holding on means that we care, that we are invested, that we are worthy. But in reality, holding on too tightly can leave us suffocating under the weight of things we cannot control or change. Letting go is not a sign of weakness. It is a powerful and necessary act of self-preservation. When we hold on to things that no longer serve us, we prevent ourselves from moving forward. It's like trying to run while carrying an enormous weight on your back. Eventually, the weight will wear you down, and no matter how hard you try to move, you'll be stuck in the same place. Letting go, however, is like setting down that heavy burden and finally being able to breathe freely. It is the freedom to release the past and step into a future where you are not defined by what has happened, but by what you choose to create for yourself. One of the most challenging aspects of letting go is accepting that sometimes the things we hold on to so tightly are the very things that are holding us back. Whether it's an unhealthy relationship, a toxic situation, or a past mistake. There comes a point when the weight of it becomes too much to bear. Yet many of us hesitate to let go because we fear the unknown. We wonder what will happen if we no longer have that person, that job, or that part of our identity. We may tell ourselves that without it we won't be whole, that we won't be able to move forward. But here's the truth. Letting go opens up a space for something better, something that truly aligns with who you are becoming. It's important to recognize that letting go doesn't mean forgetting or erasing the past. The past has shaped us, and it will always be a part of our story. However, it's possible to let go of the emotional weight that comes with it, the pain, the resentment, the fear. We can release the emotional attachment to what has happened while still honoring the lessons we've learned along the way. Letting go isn't about pretending that what happened didn't matter. It's about acknowledging that what happened was part of your journey, but it doesn't have to define the rest of your life. Many people believe that they can't move on from the past until they have closure, until they've received an apology, or until they have all the answers. But here's the reality. Closure doesn't come from others. It comes from within. No one else can give you the peace you need to move forward. You must be the one to grant yourself the freedom to let go. It's not about waiting for the world to make things right. It's about deciding, on your own terms, that you are ready to step into a future where the past no longer holds you hostage. There's also the misconception that letting go means you have to cut ties with people, erase memories, or abandon things that once meant something to you. But letting go doesn't require you to discard everything. It's about shifting your focus. It's about realizing that some people, some experiences, and some situations are no longer meant to be part of your journey. Letting go is a process of recognizing what is no longer serving you and making the conscious decision to move away from it without guilt or shame. When you let go, you open up space for healing. You create room for new opportunities, new connections, and new experiences to enter your life. You begin to see that the universe has a way of filling the spaces you create with things that are more aligned with who you are becoming. You may not know what lies ahead, but that's the beauty of it. Letting go allows you to open yourself up to the possibility of something greater, something more fulfilling, something that supports your growth and evolution. It's also important to understand that letting go isn't a one-time event. It's a process, a journey. There may be times when you feel ready to move on, and then suddenly you find yourself pulled back into old patterns or old attachments. This is normal. Letting go is not a perfect linear process, but each time you release a little bit more, you move closer to the peace and freedom that awaits you. And in the end, you will realize that letting go wasn't about losing something. It was about gaining something even more valuable, your own peace of mind. When we look at the relationships we've had in the past, especially the ones that didn't work out, it's natural to feel a sense of disappointment or even bitterness. We may think about all the times we gave so much of ourselves to someone, all the promises that were made, and yet, in the end, it fell apart. It's easy to focus on the pain, the sense of betrayal, or the idea that somehow we weren't enough. But one of the most important things to realize is that we cannot change people, no matter how much we wish or hope that they will be different. It's human nature to believe that if we just try harder, if we love more deeply, or if we give more of ourselves, the person we care about will eventually see our worth and change their behavior. But this mindset can be damaging. The truth is, People only change when they are ready to change, and no amount of love, sacrifice a persons, someone to divorce, someone to avenge, divorce, divestment to basin can be difficult. But it is incredibly freeing when we come to terms with it. It means that we no longer have to carry the weight of someone else's decisions or try to fix someone who isn't ready to be fixed. When we constantly try to change or fix someone, we're essentially telling ourselves that we're not enough as we are, that the love we give is conditional, that it can only be valid if the other person changes. This can create an unhealthy dynamic in any relationship. We begin to lose sight of our own needs, our own desires, and our own well-being in an attempt to mold someone else into what we want them to be. Over time, this erodes not just the relationship, but also our own sense of self-worth. The painful truth is that we often spend far too much time waiting for someone to change, when in reality, we are the ones who need to change the most. We need to shift our focus from the hope of changing someone else to the realization that we can change ourselves. We can change how we respond to situations, how we value ourselves, and how we choose to move forward. It's important to understand that we are the only ones responsible for our happiness. Relying on someone else to make us happy is like building a house on sand. It may work for a time, but it will eventually crumble. True happiness and fulfillment come from within. And no person, no matter how much we love them, can give us that if we are not already whole on our own. This shift in perspective allows us to stop blaming others for our pain. It frees us from the need to change them and instead empowers us to make the changes we need in our own lives. When we stop waiting for someone else to change, we stop putting our lives on hold. We stop waiting for the perfect version of someone, and we start creating the life we deserve, regardless of whether the person we want to change comes along or not. It's also essential to recognize that change, when it comes, must be rooted in genuine self-awareness and self-motivation, not external pressure. If someone truly wants to change, it will be because they've come to the realization that they need to, not because you've asked or hoped for it. True change comes from within, and it requires effort, self-reflection, and a deep desire to improve. If someone hasn't reached that point, no amount of convincing, pleading, or waiting will change them. And the longer we invest our time and energy into waiting for someone else to change, the longer we put off our own growth and happiness. This is why it's so important to learn to let go of relationships that are based on the hope of change. We have to accept that people are who they are, and while they may grow, they may never be the person we hoped they would be for us. It's not about giving up on them, it's about recognizing that we deserve someone who is already aligned with who we are, someone who is already capable of meeting us where we are emotionally and mentally and spiritually. Holding on to someone out of the hope that they will change only keeps us stuck in the past, preventing us from moving forward into a future that aligns with our true desires and potential. Instead of trying to change others, we can focus on changing ourselves, not by becoming someone we are not, but by becoming the best version of ourselves. We can choose to surround ourselves with people who support our growth and who love us as we are, without expecting us to change for their sake. By letting go of the hope that someone else will change, we open ourselves up to the possibility of finding someone who has already done the work, someone who brings the kind of love, respect, and support that we deserve. There comes a time in every person's life when they are faced with a difficult decision whether to keep fighting for something or to let it go. This decision often comes after a long period of uncertainty, pain, and emotional struggle. We've all been there, stuck in a relationship, a job, or a situation where we feel like we are giving everything, but we are receiving nothing in return. And despite the warning signs, we continue to push forward, hoping that things will improve, that people will change, or that somehow the situation will get better. But here's the uncomfortable truth. Sometimes the best thing you can do for yourself is to stop fighting and walk away. The idea of giving up is often seen as a weakness or failure, especially in a world that glorifies perseverance and the idea of never quitting. We are taught to fight for what we want, to never give up on the people we love, and to always push through hardship. But the problem with this mindset is that it doesn't account for the reality that not everything or everyone is worth fighting for. In fact, there are situations and people that can drain us, hold us back, and prevent us from becoming who we are truly meant to be. The act of walking away is not about quitting, it's about choosing yourself. It's about recognizing that your peace, your happiness, and your well-being are far more important than staying in a situation that no longer serves you. Letting go requires immense strength. It's not easy to walk away from something that once held value, something that was once a source of comfort, or someone who you thought you couldn't live without. But sometimes we have to face the hard truth that holding on to something toxic only prolongs our suffering. When we fight to hold on to what is not working, we only allow ourselves to remain stuck in a cycle of frustration, disappointment, and pain. The energy that we pour into a relationship or a situation that isn't reciprocated could be better used to build something new, to focus on our growth, or to create the life we truly desire. One of the reasons it's so hard to walk away is because of the fear of regret. We worry that if we leave, we'll never get another chance, that we'll be making a mistake, or that we'll be left with feelings of emptiness. It's easy to look back and wonder, what if things could have worked out? What if they change? What if I give it one more try? But what we often fail to realize is that the longer we stay in a situation that isn't right for us, the more we rob ourselves of the opportunity to experience something better. We delay our own growth and keep ourselves trapped in the past, all because we are afraid to step into the unknown. Another powerful reason we often hold on is because we fear being alone. The thought of walking away means confronting the loneliness, the void, and the sense of abandonment. We may feel that if we leave, we will have nothing left. But here's the truth: the loneliness you feel from walking away is temporary. The pain you experience in the moment of letting go is part of the healing process. It's a necessary step towards creating space for something better, something that is aligned with your true needs and desires. And in time, that void will be filled not by another person, but by your own personal growth, your own sense of self-worth, and your own ability to stand strong in the face of uncertainty. It's also important to recognize that our worth is not defined by the situations we stay in or the people we choose to be with. Just because something or someone was once a part of our lives doesn't mean it should remain there indefinitely. You are not obligated to stay in a relationship, a job, or a situation that no longer serves your growth or well-being. Your worth is inherent, and it doesn't depend on whether someone else values you, whether a job appreciates your efforts, or whether a situation works out the way you hoped. You are worthy simply because you exist. And when you begin to recognize that, you start making choices that honor your worth. The hardest part of walking away is knowing that you may never get the answers you need, that the closure you seek may never come. You may never fully understand why things fell apart or why someone treated you the way they did. But closure doesn't come from external sources, it comes from within. You can give yourself the closure you need by choosing to move on, by accepting that not everything has a neat resolution, and by knowing that your peace and happiness are worth more than holding on to the past. When you stop fighting for what isn't working, you create space for something better. You free yourself from the chains of the past and open up to new opportunities, new relationships, and new experiences that align with who you truly are. Letting go is not a sign of weakness, it is an act of immense strength and self-respect. It is the recognition that you deserve more than what you are settling for, and the courage to walk away and create a life that truly nourishes you. There are moments in life when we find ourselves at a crossroads, caught between the pull of holding on and the necessity of letting go. It's a painful place to be, especially when we've invested so much of ourselves into something or someone. We may feel lost, confused, and unsure of what the next step should be. But in these moments of uncertainty, it's important to remember that you do not have to remain in situations that no longer serve you. You do not have to stay in relationships or environments that drain you, belittle you, or hold you back from becoming the person you're meant to be. In fact, sometimes the most powerful decision you can make is to walk away, not because you are giving up, but because you are choosing yourself. One of the hardest things to grasp in relationships, whether personal or professional, is the idea that just because you care about someone or something doesn't mean you need to sacrifice your peace. For many people believe that true love or true dedication means enduring endless discomfort, tolerating bad behavior, or staying in unhealthy situations. We've been taught to stick it out, to fight for what we want, but this can often lead us into a cycle of self-neglect. The truth is, real love, real respect, and real peace come when we choose ourselves first. It's not selfish, it's necessary. When we stay in situations that don't serve us, we rob ourselves of the opportunity to experience the growth and peace we deserve. We may think that by staying we are showing strength, loyalty, or commitment, but in reality, we're only prolonging our own suffering. The longer we stay attached to people, habits, or situations that are draining us, the harder it becomes to move forward, to find the clarity in the space we need to heal, grow, and thrive. Sometimes we need to walk away in order to give ourselves the room to breathe, to rediscover our passions, and to align ourselves with what truly makes us feel alive. Walking away doesn't mean you've failed. It doesn't mean you're weak, or that you didn't try hard enough. In fact, the courage to walk away when something isn't right for you shows incredible strength. It takes immense self-awareness and bravery to recognize when it's time to let go. We often cling to things because we fear what might happen if we don't, or because we're afraid of the uncertainty that lies ahead. But what we fail to realize is that staying stuck in a situation that doesn't bring us peace is far more uncertain than taking a step into the unknown. There's no growth in staying in a place where you feel small, overlooked, or undervalued. There is only stagnation. One of the most powerful shifts in this process is understanding that we are the ones who set the tone for how we are treated. If we continue to accept less than we deserve, we are telling the world and ourselves that we are not worthy of better. By walking away, we are asserting that we value ourselves enough to seek environments, people, and experiences that reflect our true worth. We are saying that we will no longer settle for anything that diminishes our sense of self or undermines our happiness. This act of self-respect sends a message to the universe that you are open to receiving what aligns with your true desires. Another reason people struggle with walking away is the fear of what others will think or say. We worry about judgment, about being labeled as someone who gives up too easily, or as someone who couldn't make it work. But the truth is, other people's opinions of you are none of your business. What matters is how you feel about yourself, how you honor your own needs, and how you choose to move forward with integrity. You do not need anyone's approval to make decisions that are best for you. This is your life, your journey, and you are the only one who knows what you truly need in order to feel fulfilled. Letting go is not about forgetting the past, erasing memories, or pretending that something or someone never mattered to you. It's about giving yourself permission to move forward without being weighed down by what no longer serves you. It's about acknowledging the lessons learned, the growth that came from the experience, and then choosing to step into a new chapter where you are free to become who you truly are. It's not about erasing the past, it's about allowing the past to be what it was while creating space for new possibilities. In the end, you deserve to live a life that brings you peace, joy, and fulfillment. You deserve to be surrounded by people who love and respect you for who you truly are, not for who they want you to be. Walking away isn't easy, but it is necessary for your growth. It's not about abandoning anyone or anything. It's about choosing to honor yourself, to protect your energy, and to make room for the future you are meant to create. The moment you choose to walk away from what no longer serves you is the moment you begin to make space for what you truly deserve.